Well, hi there, food friends. It's Kevin, and welcome to Cavalcade of Food. We are back in the Cavalcade Cookbook Library for another look at a classic cookbook. And so today I wanted to talk a little bit about a cookbook that was written in 1942, but was published for decades after that, and is a book that, because it was printed in the millions of copies, is one that you often run across at thrift stores or used book sales or things of that nature. And it was really very popular in its day. And here it is. It is called the Modern Family Cookbook. Modern Family Cookbook. And we might laugh now seeing the word modern on this cookbook. But in 1942, the idea was things that were modern were really about sort of rethinking certain cooking and recipe traditions, and also utilizing what was becoming automatic and convenient appliances and other preparation methods to prepare food. You know, in the early 1940s, of course, there was a war going on, but in terms of cooking methods, you know, a lot of people who were cooking in the 1940s grew up cooking on coal-fired, wood-fired, kerosene fired, or sometimes gas-fired stoves. And of course, by the 1940s, you had electric stoves, you had automatic ovens, and all these kinds of other things. You had, you know, mixers and blenders, and not only electric, but manually powered, that weren't available, say, in the earlier part of the century, or certainly in the late 18th century. So, the Modern Family Cookbook. Let me know if this is a cookbook that you've seen or you remember, or maybe you have some history with. Again, it was published in 1942. So the person who wrote this cookbook was a woman named Meta, M-E-T-A, Meta Given, G-I-V-E-N. And Meta Given was born in rural Missouri in 1888. She was raised on a farm, but she was a pretty bright young girl, and she went to school, and she got accepted into a university. She went to the University of Missouri, and then she went to the University of Wisconsin at Madison, and she got her degree in home economics. And when getting a degree in home economics really meant something, and she was a home economics teacher for 20 years, starting in 1902, she taught home economics. But as a home economist, Meta Givens was also very interested in nutrition and in how to deliver the most nutritious and delicious foods to one's family with the smallest economic cost. And so this was her thing. So this is an early edition of the Modern Family Cookbook. It's not from 1942. I think this is the 7th or 8th printing of the first copy. And yes, this is the 8th printing, actually, from 1948. And the gray one here is from 1958, and they were still publishing this book in the 1960s and the 1970s. The only other cookbook that Meta-Givens did was this two-part set. This is the Meta-Givens Modern Encyclopedia of Cooking. And I'm really fortunate that I actually have the dust covers. They're not in great shape, but that came with these books originally. So you had Volume 1, A through F, Volume 2, F through Z. And these two books represented not only a lot of the recipes that were contained within the Modern Family Cookbook, but many more on top of that. And as an example here, in Volume 1, which is A through F, appetizers, beverages, bread, cake, candy, cereals, cheese, cookies, croquettes, desserts, diets, eggs, fish, and menus. And then we go F through Z, foreign foods, frying, game, garnishing, meat, pastries, pies, poultry, preserves, pickles, salads, sandwiches, sauces, soups, timbales. There's a cooking phrase you don't hear very often. Vegetables and index. So this was published in 1948. And again, it was continued to be published really for the next 25 years over and over again. So this gray one here, which is a 1958 printing of the Modern Family Cookbook, on the inside it says that there are already 1,100,000 copies of this book in print. So these were not uncommon, and that's why you often will see them today, because they were very popular. In addition to these cookbooks, Meta-Given authored a column in the Chicago Tribune in the 1930s, and she also did some syndicated newspaper columns, one which was called Eat Well for $12 a Week. And I will say that, again, she put nutrition sort of at the foreground. And she felt that every American each day should help themselves to 10 different categories of foods to ensure adequate nutrition. And her 10 must-haves every day were milk, meat or cheese for those who don't eat meat, green or yellow vegetable, another vegetable of any kind, a potato, and once a week you can substitute a potato for pasta or rice, egg, butter, whole grain, citrus fruit or a tomato, and some other fruit. So those were her 10 basics that she felt every American should consume every day. Assuming she followed this nutrition practice herself, it paid off, because Meta-Given was born in 1888 and she died in 1981. So she went 93 years. So good for her. And what I also love about these books is they're really, the Modern American Family Cookbook really takes a three-pronged approach to food. There's a meal planner. She felt it very important that in order to prepare foods and stay within a budget, you had to plan. You had to plan your meals ahead and know what you were going to prepare for each meal each day, and then that would help you with shopping and budgeting, etc. Then she had a section on food shopping, on actually being in the store and buying the food. So you're planning it, and the next stage is to buy the food, what to look for, how to find good bargains, how to find economies at the supermarket. And then finally, the third prong was cooking the food. And so this book is sort of in three parts, those three parts that I just went through, with the cooking part being the largest part, because that's where all the recipes are. But she has a creed at the beginning of each section. So as an example, there is the Meal Planner's Creed. This is from Meta Givens. The health of my family is in my care. Therefore, I will spare no effort in planning the right kind of foods in the right amounts. Spending the food dollar for maximum value is my job. My family's enjoyment of food is my responsibility. My family's health, security, and pleasure depend on my skill in planning meals. Her food shopper's creed is, the health of my family is in my care. You see, that stays at the top. Stretching the food dollar is part of my responsibility. My family's enjoyment of food is my responsibility. Purchasing food is an important link in the business of feeding my family. And then finally, the cook's creed. Number one, the health of my family is in my care. My family's enjoyment of food is in my care. Stretching the food dollar is part of my responsibility. A well-prepared dish is an appetizing meal are a creative achievement. Good food is of prime importance to my family. Therefore, I shall take pride in doing an outstanding job of cooking. The other thing that I like about this book is, and I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but the list of ingredients for the recipes is printed in red ink, and then the instruction for the recipe is printed in black ink. And the American Family Cookbook, again, in terms of recipes, it really covers the gamut. It is of, everything. Beverages, breads, cake, candy, cereals, cheese, cookies, desserts, eggs, fish, meat, pastries, pies, poultry, preserving and canning, salads, sandwiches, sauces, soups, vegetables, deep fat frying, leftovers, miscellaneous. So, again, this is one of these things where if you just could get one book to help you in the kitchen, assuming that you were a novice cook just starting out, or even maybe a little more experienced cook but looking for some inspiration and ideas, Meta Givens' Modern Family Cookbook was the way to go. And then we have the Encyclopedia of Cooking. And again, this, I already read sort of the different chapters, but this has a lot of tables and charts. So I love these illustrations of basically a side of beef and where all the cuts are and what they're called. And, the idea was, too, that a lot of people, particularly women, bought meat regularly from their neighborhood butcher shop. And so it was to their advantage to understand what part of the cow certain cuts of meat came from and how they could be used. And so, I think this, again, is a wonderful, just all-around cooking guide to really making just about anything. And I have made recipes over the years on Cavalcade from both of these books by Meta Givens. So the Modern Family Cookbook and its follow-up, which was the Modern Encyclopedia of Cooking, Meta Givens. So two for the shelves here at the Cavalcade Library. Again, these really represent a snapshot in time when you had a lot of people not necessarily experienced in cooking, and Meta Givens wanted to bring them into the modern manners of cooking, as well as emphasizing the importance of nutrition and economy. And those ideas might sound old-fashioned, but I have to tell you, I don't know that it would be a bad thing to incorporate some of those ideas in how we cook, and more importantly, how we eat today. I think overall we are cooking less, but we are eating more. And when I say that, I mean the foods that many people eat are foods that they don't cook or they don't prepare, but that are prepared by somebody else, or are industrial food, processed food, commercially made food. And I think now in 2024, we have seen and are seeing some of the detrimental long-term effects of these kinds of diets. Could go into a big lecture here. I'm not going to. I'm just going to say we're going to celebrate these cookbooks. We're going to celebrate Meta Givens and her emphasis on eating a balanced, nutritious diet that tastes good and that doesn't cost a lot of money. And I think those are just good values in 1942, and they are good values to have in 2024. So, thank you for spending some time with me on this visit to the Cavalcade Cookbook Library. I'm going to give you the website, which is cavalcadeoffood.com. That will connect you, of course, to the YouTube channel, Cavalcade of Food. It'll connect you to my secondary channel, which is Always Analog, starting to look at a lot of fall school supplies, particularly pencils. And it'll also connect you to the Cavalcade Radio Hour, which is a 1-hour program I do here in Michigan's Thumb, and it will show you, if you're so interested, how you can listen live online Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So, as more than anything, I appreciate you watching. So I hope everybody is well. I hope everybody is surviving what, at least here in Michigan right now, is a pretty hot summer. And I look forward to seeing you again back here real soon on Cavalcade of Food. Bye, everyone.